my family before, and I found out things that I never dreamed. Lots of surprises, so doing it was very, very meaningful.
Do you have one?
To be honest with you, I don't think I have any significant memories from my
That's fine.
I really don't have much memory of history class in high school because I don't remember taking it. I don't remember who my teacher was. I'm sorry, it's not any more exciting than that.
It was junior year in high school, American history, and we had to do a project. And our project was a report, a group report on fascism. So we didn't want to get up and do the same boring blah, 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 blah. So we sat down together, and all of us come up with the idea of doing a Mussolini, This Is Your Life. And so we had somebody up there playing Mussolini that was giving the historical answers, and then we had people from his life that helped him form the ideas of what fascism was. And at the very end, one of the guys in the audience who was the assassin of Mussolini stood up with a squirt gun and mowed Mussolini down.
Oh my
the teacher was not expecting it, and then he ran out of the room and disappeared for the rest of the class. So that was probably my most memorable historical experience.
Hi. In high school history, all my classes were taught by coaches, and I don't remember them being very interested in them, although I liked history. So I was really glad to get to college and get in classes where the people that taught them liked the subject.
Yeah, all I remember is copying lots of slides and then reading and then essay questions. That's pretty much my memory of history.
I really like watching history movies in class. I think it gives like a better perspective.
I liked my history classes in high school because I did like learning about the facts, and I like American history more so than world history. But I'm more geared towards numbers, so I steered away from pursuing anything along the history route in college and went the numbers route in finance and teach math, just because the history jobs I knew were pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, I remember I had a really good teacher for AP, or not AP, U.S. history, and because he was such a great teacher, I was more inspired in my history class.
The best thing I remember about my history class was the drawing I did of my teacher. That was about all I remember from history in high school.
Because you didn't like history?
They just made it really boring. It wasn't interesting to me.
Did they show videos a lot? Or just lecture a lot?
I just remember lecturing and taking notes and drawing pictures of the teachers.
The problem with asking someone over 50 years old is that they can't remember anything about history class. So that's my answer.
Because you are history.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm making history. Part of history right now.
Okay, so one thing I remember is that we did a project about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and we split into groups, and each group represented, like, one group was the UN, and one group was Israel, one group was Palestine, and to kind of debate the issue. So that's one thing I remember that I enjoyed.
I think history was hard because of all the memorization. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, well, I was a history nerd. I loved history, and so I remember a lot of my middle school and high school classes. In middle school, my favorite teacher was Mr. Gallion, who was a Civil War reenactor, and I was big into the Civil War, so we could talk a lot about the Civil War. And in high school, my favorite class was dual enrollment U.S. history, which they don't teach anymore because we went IB, but that's a separate topic. But it was real cool. In that class, we did a collaborative effort with the culinary classes, and we did pioneer cooking. So we cooked like cornbread and chicken and everything like that, like you would on a wagon train in pioneer days. So it was pretty cool.
I did have one favorite history teacher. She taught world history when I was in the 10th grade. And every day when I went in her class, I just set my books on my desk. I didn't unpack anything. And she stood in front of the class and she said, "Today I'm going to tell you a story about Napoleon," or whatever. And that's exactly what she did. And we were riveted for the entire hour. And it was just like history class every day. I never had to study. I mean, she was a tough teacher, but I just learned so much in her class. I never had to put in a lot of extra study time. I think I read my chapters in my history book like we were supposed to. But the way she presented it, it was just like a fascinating.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, when I think of history, I don't think of anything because I don't like it because I don't care about it.
Why don't you care about it?
Because I don't know why. I just don't like it.
You just don't like history?
I don't like history at all.
Oh, immediately. 8th grade, The lady taught me modern European history, and from that day forth I was bit with the history bug. I loved it.
Why?
Why? She just made the history come alive for me, particularly in modern European, because it had so much impact on where I was living even then.
Okay, so one memory I have of one of my history teachers, his name was Dr. Eichelman, and he was really into science fiction. So we watched a lot of science fiction movies in his class, and he started some kind of science fiction convention that he had his students go to for extra credit.
Miss Algebright was my favorite teacher of all time because she encouraged me to go to the MAC competition, which I didn't think I was good enough to do that. So,
about history class, or what I remember about it is taking notes and memorizing things and sleeping a little bit, but I really liked history class and it was fun, I guess.
My junior year of high school, my history teacher was a dual credit U.S. history class. He came in dressed up as Abraham Lincoln. He had a mark. He got a marker and marked his made a beard and walked up with a top hat. And he sat down at the desk and started listing off random facts about Abraham Lincoln. And that, I'd say that's definitely the most memorable part of my
teacher was important to me.
You just liked him?
Yeah,
or her? Yeah, okay. Nice.
Probably the American Revolution. I think of Jamestown first, and then I think of colonies and all that. I think of all the battles and all the generals and that kind of stuff.
Alright, well, one thing that I thought was always pretty funny was my history teacher. He was ex-Marine and stuff, and he was part of the the artillery squadron and stuff, and he ended up blowing up a house over a holiday and stuff. Just out of accident and stuff, but it was on the base, and we sort of got reamed out for that. That was one thing I definitely remember from high school.
Okay, go.
Okay, so I had a government teacher my senior year of high school who was just really rude to students, and he made a comment one time that said that we were horses and he was dangling a carrot in front of us, and if we didn't get it, that we wouldn't make it anywhere in life.
Oh my God.
What I remember most about high school history is it seemed like always the football coach is the guy who taught history for some reason. And I remember reenacting the Battle of Bunker Hill in my advanced placement history in the 11th grade.
My high school history teacher, I think it was 10th grade, and I just remember him being really enthusiastic and jumping up and down, and I honestly don't remember what the subject matter that he was discussing, but I just remember him being really excited and jumping up and down.
No, I don't remember much about history in high school or middle school. What I do remember was trying to remember dates, and I'm not good at that kind of thing.
I remember that my high school history teacher was a very large football fan, and we talked about football a fair amount. I did get to take a sociology lesson that actually turned into my college major, so that was a good thing.
Alright, I'd say my most memorable high school moment was my U.S. government history class. And when we were in that class, my teacher drilled us. He straight up hammered us, but it made you learn all the intricacies and the workings of the U.S. government and stuff, and it really made you help understand how policies and stuff get passed. And we watched Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and that was pretty awesome. So,
Hi. The biggest thing that I remember from middle and high school history classes was falling asleep during videos that were played in the dark.
Alright, good memory is I was part of what was called the School's Council History Project, and you had all these modules you did, and one of the modules was local history, and my school was built in 1608, and part of that building was there, and they still had the charter from King James I in the library. They had Latin engraved on sort of the keystone above a building, and then you'd have the school getting bigger and building out in the old headmaster's office, and they also had a desktop that had all the kids that carved names in. They'd probably been kin, but they had names carved in. So going around having to translate things in Latin to understand what that meant, recognising that you had a Dartmouth house, a Fenny house, a Jessup house, which is very similar to Harry Potter's kind of houses and stuff like that, plus the kind of King James I charter, and then you realise that you walk in the same place where people 400 years ago had walked was kind of like gave you chills, and so that's an absolutely felt part of history, that history was actually about who I was and what it meant to be a person. Shut up now.
Okay, unfortunately, I don't have that many great high school history experiences to draw upon, and that's probably representative of what most of our high school history experiences are sort of based upon, with textbooks and memorizations and things like that. But I do recall some opportunities that could have gotten into something really cool. Like one thing that comes to mind, we had a mock UN where we were assigned different nations. It was sort of like a UN type conference where we were it was sort of moderated by a teacher, and we kind of different issues were tossed around, and we just kind of took votes. But it was just sort of organized chaos for the most part. But it could have been a really great experience. So I guess ultimately I've taken a lot of what I experienced in high school history, and tried to build upon that and make it somewhat better for students. Because again, there were a lot of potential that I had experienced, but there was really nothing that stands out as being, wow, that was fantastic. And so I guess part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is to sort of address some of those issues and try to build upon them, and hopefully make history much more meaningful to future students.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was in grade school, we had a history teacher, and one of my good friends, he took all the old history books and he threw them out the window.